In this video, I'm sharing the 4 identities of people who are trying to make change in their lives and what holds each identity back from success. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what identity you're in right now, what might be holding you back from making change, and exactly what to do to start moving forward. Hey everyone, I'm Alex. I'm a former 9-to-5er turned life coach, and I'm here to help you start your dream biz and leave your 9-to-5. So if you love identity classification systems like Myers-Briggs or Enneagram, then you're gonna love this video. I was recently listening to Amy Porterfield's podcast, and she was interviewing Anthony Trucks. And in that podcast, he was sharing his identity shift technique, in which he has 4 different types of identities of people who are making change in their lives. And the system that Anthony shared with his 4 identities resonated with me so deeply that I knew I had to come on here and share it with you guys. So let's get started. First, his system breaks down identities into 2 broad categories, the first being slow identities and the next being go identities. And so if you're making change, you may not want to be stuck in a slow identity. You want to be that go identity. So there's 3 types of slow identities that he talks about and several types of go identities. Starting with the first slow identity, we have the dreamer. So this is the person that's always talking about their dreams. They have lots of ideas. They're talking about what they're going to do next, but they never really make progress towards those dreams. Every time you talk to them, they kind of say, yeah, this is what I'm going to do, but they never actually get started on doing it. So if you're always dreaming about something and never taking action on it, then you have some component of fear that's holding you back. And the way to overcome this is to be courageous. It's to look at the next opportunity and go for it, even if it scares you. And if you're looking for a little bit of help on how to be more courageous, make sure to check out my Levels of Consciousness video, and I'll link that right up here. Another tip that Anthony shared for the dreamer type personality is to reach out and find help. Don't go it alone. Find people who have already done what you want to do and really learn from them. Or you can look at your own life. Look at the past where you've overcome obstacles. What tools did you use to overcome those obstacles? And how can you use those tools now to get going on the thing you're dreaming about? And I definitely have experience with being a dreamer. This resonated with me so much when I first heard him talk about it. When I first started thinking about changing my career and thinking about what I wanted to do next, I was a dreamer. And I think that to some degree, it's great that we are all dreamers in the beginning, but there's a point where you have to get going and start taking action on your dreams. For me, being a dreamer was staying in my comfort zone. It felt like it was productive. It felt like I was researching new things and I was testing out new ideas, but really I was just staying in my comfort zone because I wasn't actually taking action on the things that I was thinking about. So not only did this look like trying to figure out what possible career path I might like, but it also really looked like me diving into understanding myself. So I took a lot of personality tests. I was looking at things like astrology, trying to better understand myself and understand my purpose. And this can be helpful if you're kind of a recovering people pleaser and you don't really have a good sense of your own inner truth or your own North Star that guides you, then these things can be helpful. But when you start to use them as an excuse not to move forward, then you're getting stuck in that dreamer stage. The next identity type is the dabbler. So this is someone who has shiny object syndrome. They're someone who's always starting new ideas, but then they quickly taper off and start something new. And the dabbler is really characterized by starting something new, giving it, say, 2 or 3 weeks of effort, and then as soon as you face some resistance or any sort of initial setback, you immediately start looking for something new that you want to try. And the advice that Anthony shared for dabblers is to commit to doing the thing for twice as long as you normally would. So if you're someone who dabbles for 2 to 3 weeks at a time and then kind of hops to the next thing, Anthony's advice would be to do it for 4 to 6 weeks and to really force yourself at that 2 to 3 week mark where you normally would start looking for something new, to push through that discomfort and do it for another 2 to 3 weeks. And this is something that's really common with coaching clients, is instead of facing the opposition and feeling the discomfort and moving through it, You can try to change your external circumstances by trying something new. So let's say you were trying to become a photographer and you did that for 2 to 3 weeks and it was fun and you were motivated and it was new and exciting, and then you started posting to Instagram and no one views your posts and no one's trying to book you, and you start to get discouraged because this is the first resistance that you're facing. And if you start to make excuses like, oh, this just isn't for me, photography is not that fun anyways, blah, 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 and you start to think about what your next thing will be, you're changing the circumstances. You're not actually making progress, and you're not changing your mindset around what you're doing. You're just changing the external circumstances. So you're saying, oh, I don't want to be a photographer anyways. I'm going to learn graphic design now. And you begin the new cycle of this new exciting thing, and you feel excited and motivated, and you again start your 2 to 3 week process of diving into that until you reach the resistance down the road for that as well. And again, I feel like after I left the dreamer phase, I entered the dabbler phase. So I was starting to take action at this point, but I was still kind of all over the place, and I definitely had shiny object syndrome, and I definitely experienced the discomfort of learning new things. And it's really natural when we're trying new things that we're not going to be perfect at them right away. We're not going to be as good as the people that we're looking at on Instagram or on YouTube or whoever you're looking up to. You can't expect yourself to be as good as them on day one. You're just learning it. So of course there's going to be this stage of discomfort. If we go back to the photography example, you're learning to operate the camera, you're learning all the settings. It's confusing, it can be really overwhelming, and it's a lot to learn. And then on top of that, you're taking photos and you just can't get the photo to look the way you want it to, or you are doing your best, but you're just not loving your work at that point. That's the resistance that you have to overcome. And so you have to stick with it long enough where you become a master of the camera, and all of a sudden all of the settings are really easy to master. You can work in any lighting, you just know how to use your equipment, and so that resistance is gone. And then you're just working on your creativity and kind of refining your style, and what that takes is really just practice and more practice. That's how you improve at anything in life. And so if you're never letting yourself overcome that phase of resistance and discomfort, then you're never growing, and you're just constantly starting a new cycle of trying something new, and you feel like you're making progress towards changing your life, but you're really just going around in circles. And once you push through that discomfort is where you can step up to the next level, and you're no longer going in a circle, but you're starting to build momentum towards something that you want in life. And again, if you're someone like me who's kind of a reformed people pleaser and you're still just getting to know yourself, then there is some degree of shiny object syndrome that can be helpful. But again, it's knowing how long to stick with these things to really get a sense of it. So if you're interested in something but it's kind of new to you, then this advice that Anthony shares of doing it for twice as long as you normally would is really great, and it has two benefits. So the first benefit is learning to overcome opposition and learning to live with discomfort. There's so many times in our lives when we try to avoid discomfort, and by doing that, we're stopping ourselves from growing. And one of the greatest things that we can learn in life is learning to live with the feeling of discomfort and not trying to run away from it or avoid it, and really just learning, like, I can live with this. I can be uncomfortable and the world isn't going to end. Everything is okay, and I learned that I can overcome this and I can actually live with discomfort, and it just builds your resilience for future obstacles. The second benefit of Anthony's advice of doing things for twice as long as you normally would is that you actually stick with something long enough to know if you like it or not. So we can start new ideas and we have this image in our head of how it's going to be, and we get going and we're motivated and we're excited, and then naturally that motivation is going to wane. And if you push through the discomfort and really give something enough time to get a sense of what it's truly like to live that career or to do that thing, then you'll know if it's really for you or not. And if you're someone who's just getting to know themselves, then this is really important for you to start to understand, well, what do I like? What do I enjoy? Who do I want to work with? And if you're only giving something a week or two, you're not really going to have that sense of, do I enjoy it? Does it really fulfill me? Do I enjoy working with these people and doing this type of work in the world? Or was this just an idea that I got excited about, but then the reality of it doesn't really match with what makes me fulfilled? The third identity type that Anthony talks about is the defender. And this is the last of the slow personality types. And so the defender is someone who's actually had some success in life, and their identity is around being a successful person or being good at what they're doing. And what holds defenders back is they stop taking on new challenges. They stop innovating. They aren't really changing. They're just kind of doing everything as they've always done it, everything that's made them successful up until this point, and they aren't really trying to change or push themselves. And what really holds defenders back is because you aren't pushing the envelope or innovating or changing and challenging yourself, is that everyone else around you is doing that, and they're kind of moving ahead and you're staying stuck. And so you can actually find yourself falling behind your industry or your competitors or whoever, and you're just defending your current position. And what really holds defenders back is how they're going to be perceived or judged or possibly viewed negatively by people because they could try something new and fail or look bad or be bad at it. And the defender personality is someone who's already had success. So they see themselves as successful and they don't want to be seen as not successful. And so Anthony's advice for the defender personality is to identify with the efforts needed to reach your outcome and not to identify with the outcome itself. And so the reason that he gives this advice is because when defenders try to identify with that next level and you give it a go and say you're not there yet, you can really beat yourself up. So the important thing is to focus on the steps involved to getting to that next level and not the next level itself. So focus on the path and focus on one step ahead of the other rather than focusing on that endpoint. And the last piece of advice that Anthony gave for this personality type is to take on the identity of learning to grow. You know you can do this because you've already had success in the past, and now you're just learning to have success in a new way. And again, I feel like I was a little bit of a defender before I left my 9-to-5 job. So before I left my 9-to-5, I was definitely in that identity of someone who had already had success. I was an engineer, I was working at a great 9-to-5, and I was making over $100,000 a year. And so I really identified as someone who had done all the right things and already had success. And so when you're thinking about making a completely new career change, you can get a little bit of that defender identity coming in because you don't want to look like a beginner again. You don't want to try something and fail. You don't want people to perceive you negatively or look silly or whatever comes up for you because you're already being seen as a successful person in what you're doing. So moving on to Anthony's go identity. The go identity is broadly categorized as the doers. They're the people who are taking action, that see opportunities, and they go for it. These are the people that really have that growth mentality, and they know that when they take on new opportunities, there will be opposition, there will be hurdles, but they also know that they can handle those when they get there, and it's not going to stop them from taking on that opportunity. But what Anthony points out is that simply being a doer is not all sunshine and roses. There's actually different levels of being a doer. So the first level of being a doer is something that Anthony calls being a walker. So the walker is the slowest of the doers. A walker is someone who wants to be self-made. They want to do it all themselves, and they also want to do it for free. They want to be reading all the blog posts or consuming all the YouTube content or listening to all the podcasts, and there's someone who just wants to do it themselves. And there's nothing wrong with this, but because they're doing it themselves, they tend to be the slowest of the doers. The next level of being a doer is something that Anthony calls being a rider. And you can think of this as someone who's riding a bike. So when you're riding a bike, you're definitely going faster than people that are walking, and you're putting yourself a little bit outside of your comfort zone. So the example that he gave is these are people who are willing to invest a little bit in going faster. So these are people who may buy a low-priced course or a book to help them move faster along their journey. The next level of being a doer is the driver. So this is like someone who's driving a car. So these are people that want to go fast. They want to go a lot faster than the walkers and the riders. These are people who are willing to invest in coaches or programs that help them get there faster. They're willing to invest in the knowledge of someone who's been there before them, the person who knows the steps, who's gone over the obstacles, and it can just help them get from point A to point B a lot faster. So there you have it, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you had some takeaways. I know that everything that Anthony talked about really resonated with me. And it's my hope that with this knowledge, you can identify which identity you're in right now and what might be holding you back from moving forward and making the progress that you're hoping to make. Are you stuck as a dreamer? Are you stuck in the dabbler stage and you have shiny object syndrome? Or maybe you've seen some success and you're in that defender stage and you're a little bit scared of looking silly or trying new things. Or maybe you're in the doer stage, but you're a walker right now and you want to be a driver. So wherever you're at, know that there's a stage and a tool to help you overcome what may be holding you back at that stage. So let me know down in the comments what identity you're in right now. Or maybe you've been stuck in an identity and you've overcome that. If you were stuck in the dreamer stage, what helped you overcome that? I'd love to hear what you did and learn from you as well. So if you liked the video, make sure to leave a big thumbs up, leave me a comment, and if you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe for weekly videos. And I'll see you in the next video.